My name is Bree, and I'm here. We're just kind of documenting our love story because I'm marrying Tony White, and it's never really been put on paper, so that's what we're doing.
Till today. My name is Tony White. I was forced into this against my will. Now, I'm here because I talked this beautiful lady into marrying me, and she thought it'd be a good idea to capture our love story, I guess. So I'm here trying to be as cheesy as possible and not look like an idiot. Let me take this. Okay, so I knew who Bree was for probably 2 or 3 months before she knew who I was, because our friends Phil and Miranda got married 2 years ago. 2 years ago, and when Phil was leaving Nebraska, he was my next door neighbor in the dorms in college, so we became really good friends. And so when he was leaving Nebraska with his soon-to-be wife, I was asking him about bridesmaids, being single at the time. I was looking for love in all the wrong places and needed to try something different. So they told me about this girl, Bree, and I believe her exact words were, well, there's Bree, but everybody loves Bree, and she has a boyfriend. So I just kind of, we'll just wait and see. And then I kind of stalked her on Facebook a little bit. Like, all right, I can see what I can do here. And so their wedding rolls around, and I didn't see her for a while. I was all nervous, and then I finally saw her, and I grabbed Phil and I was like, Phil, you didn't tell me to expect anything like this. Like, it's totally different in person than pictures you see or what somebody says about somebody. And I was just blown away at first. And then and then what happened next? You can take it from here.
So we show up to the rehearsal where he's the best man and I'm a bridesmaid, and the whole entire rehearsal of the ceremony, he's staring at me.
Whoa.
Literally staring at me, and so I'm like, avert eye contact, and
don't look too desperate is what she was really thinking, because I caught her staring at me actually.
So it was one of those things where he had kept making awkward eye contact, and then
just be like,
and I really started, like, I really noticed him whenever we sat down at the rehearsal dinner, and this was a served rehearsal dinner, and he waited for everybody to be served with their meals before he ate, and it spoke volumes of how much of a gentleman he was. And then he brought up Cody Johnson, who is a huge Texas country singer, and he acted like I didn't know who that was, and kind of quizzed me on it for a second. And I think that's what, I mean, still to this day, like, our first dance song is Cody Johnson, so that's something that we've always kind of had common ground on. But it was that wedding weekend where he was staring at me that really kicked things off. And then it wasn't until a month later that we actually had our first date, being in 2 different states. So I flew up to Nebraska on my birthday weekend. It's actually probably 2 years ago to the day today. And
October 17th.
Yep.
Actually, what is today? Yesterday.
So 2 years from yesterday, and I flew up to Nebraska. I was a nervous wreck, and I thought my mom would chew me out because I was flying to go see some guy. But I eased her mind, and now that she knows Tony, she totally understands. But
She still doesn't trust me.
But yeah, that's kind of how we met, and he was shaking like a leaf whenever we had our first dance at their wedding. But we didn't really, I didn't really think anything too much of it until he caught the garter and I caught the bouquet. And it was one of those things where people always tell you that it's fate if that happens and whatnot, and it was one of those things where it was kind of awkward, but maybe we should start paying attention to it. And then he conveniently didn't have a ride home from the wedding. And
now you're making it sound.
He conveniently didn't have a ride home from the wedding.
It's not going where you think it's going.
So we went and hung out with the bride's parents in their garage all night, just talking about everything. And he asked for my number in front of my best friend's parents, and so again,
and that's when she fell in love.
Speaks volumes of how much of a gentleman he is.
Give me some credit here.
There is a lot of credit after the fact given to this man, but prior to, I thought he was just a royal douchebag because.
What? So
we got engaged on a Friday. We had been kind of caught up in the mess of, we decided that renting a house was stupid and that I should buy a house because you get a return on investment, which is smart, logical. Again, I called my dad asking if it was a smart move, and so we were caught up in the house buying process, and we were driving in the car, and he looks at me and he says, "You should get your eyebrows waxed," and proceeded to like pet my eyebrows, and he actually paid for me to get my eyebrows waxed, which I'm not complaining about, but I was like, what are you, like, are you saying I've just let myself go?
I believe my words were, I just want you to feel like a woman again after all this stress.
All the stress. And then so we went into that, we ate dinner at the mall that night, and then we get home and he says, "You should paint your fingernails too. I mean, just to like pamper yourself." And I was like, now you're really telling me I've let myself go. And so this was Wednesday, and or third, I don't know exactly, but in my mind I'm thinking like, man, he's really like thinking I've just like I'm not trying to impress him anymore. And so then Friday rolls around and he says, since we're not closing on the house, do you want to go eat dinner with some friends in Lincoln? And I say, not really, because it's all the way in Lincoln. But
Okay, never mind about it.
But I agree to go, and we leave the house a little bit earlier than to meet said dinner time, and turns out there was no dinner, but we stop at the Holy Family Shrine. That's kind of halfway between here and Lincoln, so that was his ploy, I find out, to get me there. And we're walking around, kind of mid-October like it is now, so beautiful outside, and other families are walking around. It's absolutely gorgeous there, and it's something that we'd always wanted to see since I moved here. We just never had a reason to stop, or didn't have time, or it was dark, or who knows what. So we made it a point to stop, and I'm like looking in the shrine because it's closed obviously on a Friday night, and this lady walks up to us and says, "Hey, I'm taking these pictures, like I'm here to take proofs for my friend who's taking pictures here tomorrow. Can I use you guys as like testers?" And I say, "Of course, like I would love to," just thinking that she was being friendly, and Tony's like, "For sure, like okay." And because that's the normal guy response to that kind of stuff. And so she like stands us all awkwardly. I'm standing in front of Tony, and she says, "Look off into the distance, like over at the road." And Tony's standing behind me, and so I'm clueless. And she was like, "On the count of 3, turn around and like look at him." And so she counts to 3. I turn around, look at him, and he's got a ring box, and I'm like, "Good one, Tony. Like, let's go. I know you're just playing around for her pictures." And he was like, no, this is real. And he gets down on one knee and says whatever he says that I don't remember, because in my mind I'm thinking, oh shit, oh crap. He's actually proposing to me. And
I had to catch her because she started backing away, so I had to catch her, and I just said the most beautiful words that have ever come out of my mouth, that have ever come out of a human's mouth. And then she said, "Yes, I think
other thing I really remember thinking was, I can't cry. There's a photographer here taking pictures of all this, and I can't have ugly cry face for all these pictures. And then it clicks that he wanted me to get my eyebrows waxed and wanted me to have nice looking fingernails, and was actually being very sweet when I just thought he was being a complete douchebag. So that's what I thought of the whole night. And then there were no dinner plans, so we drive around for another hour, just kind of like, where do we go eat? Who do we need to call? And we
again bringing up the, where do you want to go? I don't know. Where do you want to go?
Well, and I thought he had the whole night planned.
Well, okay, I did, but then it turned out they were closed. So I did.
And we couldn't find the restaurant.
Oh yeah, that's what it was.
Couldn't find the restaurant. And so that weekend was a lot of fun. And he told me the story behind the ring. It's his grandmother's ring, so it's 64 years old, and to have something that meant a lot to him and his mom passed down to me meant the world to me. Thank you. After the fact, I called my mom, obviously, and she said, finally, I couldn't keep the secret any longer. And it turns out that weekend, where it was like the turning point of my mom driving away, was the weekend that he asked my mom for my hand in marriage. And so that was in May, and this is October, and my mom is terrible at keeping secrets. So naturally, my sisters knew, my grandma knew, everybody but me pretty much knew. And I was very proud of them for keeping such a big secret, because it obviously made the day more special for me. But
they probably just really felt bad for me, because when I asked them, I was like, can I marry your daughter?
Shaking like a leaf.
Yeah, and it was pretty embarrassing afterward thinking about it. But, so they did it for me.
And he had done all these things in such a way that I was very much unaware of the whole plan. And he snuck in questions here and there. Do you want your family there, or do you want to just, like, do you want to have pictures of it so you can show them? He'd ask these things kind of intermittently while we were watching a movie, or somebody else had gotten engaged, or things like that, that it didn't trigger anything in my mind, but he still got the information he needed. So very sneaky, very romantic move on his part. I think my mom and my sisters and my dad and my stepmom have been incredible support through this whole thing. From keeping the secret to listening to me vent with all of my indecisiveness, because Lord knows there has been plenty of it. But I think just their support in me being the first sister to get married has been tremendous. Because it's not easy to see a little sister get married before you, I'm sure, let alone your baby daughter, mom and dad. And so your support in knowing that I am marrying somebody who is deserving and caring and loves me as much as you love your baby, I think has been the warmest welcome. And Mom, thank you for this video so that your great-grandkids and your great-grandkids' grandkids get to watch it years from now. And just in making all of these things possible, Dad, for you taking Tony in as your first son-in-law. I know it's not easy having raised 3 girls to think about bringing a guy into the mix, but you've been tremendous at it. And to Tony's family, thank you for welcoming in, and Andrew working on our bathroom so much, but Tony's brothers for providing a great example of what being a father and being a good husband can be. because you guys are tremendous, and to Ashley and Bree. So
I
thank
guess.
Phil and Miranda for.
Oh yeah, hey. Thank you, Phil and Miranda, for. Oh, we didn't even tell that part of the story. Phil and Miranda kind of set this whole thing up. Made sure she sat by me at the rehearsal dinner. Gave her the wedding rings to give to me as the best man to hold on to.
They three musketeered their way through that weekend.
And it worked. I don't know how, but thank you, Phil and Miranda. Thank you to Bree's mom for being so easygoing and putting up with me. And thank you to Bree's dad for trusting me and making my "Can I marry your daughter" speech so quick and easy, because that was the most terrifying thing I've ever done in my life. And thank you, Mother, for saving me the trouble of having to pick out a ring and passing down your mother's engagement wedding ring to me. And thank you for being there for supporting everything we do and being there to give advice whether or not we follow it. That's kind of my theme, is to never follow advice anybody gives me, but you still give it, and I appreciate that. So thank you, and
For taking me in.
yes, and for accepting Bree. It's pretty easy, thank God. That was the scariest part, making sure everybody liked her. But that, I didn't even, there's nothing.